life is throwing you situations where you don't know how to react to it. You don't know what to do. Everything seems to be failing. Just time after time, you get in your head, you start overthinking, you start stressing, you start eating, becomes a hassle of something to do. Just realize that it's bound to happen, it's gonna happen. Know that when it's going through it, when you're going through it in the process of it, bro, just take it easy, glide through it. But what I'm doing right now, making these deposits, you gotta do it.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Yeah, I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy.
Sometimes it's what you gotta do to get over stuff. You can't drink your problems away, you can't smoke your problems away. You gotta get in, lock in, just do something different. You gotta get uncomfortable. Something what?
Going 35, go 40.
Going 35, go 40. That's the only way you're gonna make it through it. If you let yourself get consumed by it, you're always gonna fall into it and you're never gonna get past it. You're gonna stay at that rock bottom point and you're not gonna touch where you need to be at. So just keep that in mind when you're going through things. You gotta continue a motivation and a momentum, because that momentum is gonna inspire you to look for the next step. And once you stop that, boy, it's gonna be rough.
And look at it, just like they say, you know, heard it over and over through religion and everything. The body is the temple of the mind. I'll be fucking 70 in 2 years, and man, I tell you, if you want to be somebody or do something, I've never seen nobody that put 100% in everything. That means physical and mental,
right,
and not get there.
Yeah.
Only time they don't get there is when they stop.
So even this as an example of a deposit, getting yourself in shape, this is the one thing that you can control. When life is feeling hectic and out of control, you don't know which direction to go, nothing seems to be going your way, make a deposit to your body. It's one thing that no one else has control over but yourself. That deposit is what you're listening to at the gym, what you're drinking before the gym, what you're going home and eating after the gym. And this deposit, if you want to feel good about yourself, stressed out, anxious, whatever the case, coming and working on yourself is by far the utmost best deposit you can make to yourself. So take this as a lesson. I'm no expert, I'm no whatever you want to call it, but I can tell you for a fact, and there's plenty of people in here doing it, this is a deposit you want to have.
We do not get the fair warning of being a young adult of how complicated this really is. So many of us go through situations, we go through life, and we try to figure out, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing what I want to be doing? Am I doing something that I'm gonna be proud of? Am I doing something that my parents are gonna be like, hey, like, I'm proud of you, like, I'm glad you did this and you like took some of our advice? Are we doing things that our friends are gonna be like, yo, that's awesome, I'm so happy you did that, like, that's for you? A lot of us go through that, but so many of us think that we're alone in that process. But really, if you relate to any of that, hey, I'm in the boat right there with you. Your creative side, if you have that, you need to follow it. You know what's gonna make you happy, you know that it makes you happy, and you know that you have a different level of fulfillment doing that outside of, let's say, your typical 9 to 5, you know, whatever you're doing to pay your bills, get your gas, pay your phone bill, whatever the case. You know how you feel when you're doing that one specific thing that's true to your nature. And if you try to avoid that and steer off this way, steer off that way, go do what they're doing, even if it means not going along with what your parents are saying, that feeling is not going to go away. And when you start to navigate to these different aisles that you don't belong in, you're going to feel that, and it's going to weigh down on you really heavy, and you don't want to end up in that process. Because when you do end up that way, that's when you start to realize, like, oh man, you get in your head, you overthink, you get stressed out, your energy's low, and you don't realize why. But that is why, because you're not following your actual purpose. Now, don't get me wrong, following your purpose and your passion can definitely be a situation that can cause you to end up down a bad path potentially. Because yes, if you have a passion and you have a craft, some of us are blind to our actual level in that, by all means, we can get better, we can do better, we can invest into things to make ourselves better at that. But at the same time, if we try to only follow it when we're at, let's say, a base to moderate level, that's going to end us in a position where we're broke, struggling, having doubts in ourselves, and thinking, man, did I make the right choice? Like, what am I doing with myself? Like, I thought I was good. I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not getting, you know, I'm booking gigs, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I'm not getting the pay or the recognition that I thought I would get from it. And that can be very, very draining to yourself. You might be a bit naive in the realization of you need to do some more nurturing and preparation for yourself to fully excel with that passion. And like I said before, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't in that same boat with you, because I've tried the different businesses. I've tried buying this online course, that online course, and with all the faith that I may have, that I thought I had, that I still do have with it, I might not just be ready, or I might not be following what my heart and my true me, the true essence of myself is going after, and I might just be doing it to get the quick check, to get the quick payday. There has to be a point where you can sit yourself down and be honest with yourself. If you're in the point where things don't seem to be working out when you thought they actually really would, you got to sit down and analyze real quick. I'm trying my hardest and I'm not getting what I'm expecting out of it. I need to pivot, I need to adjust. Is it good that you explored your talents, your interests, your passions? Absolutely. Especially if it's kind of igniting a point of fulfillment in yourself. Yo, great, I'm glad you did that. You should be glad that you did that also. For myself, I know that once I finally gave in and said, you know, honestly, I spoke to God and I'm like, God, like, I'm kind of at a point where I need to submit and ask you to come in to my plans and kind of guide me. My hands are off the steering wheel at this point, and I really need a different way, a different angle to view what I'm after and get a more clear point on what I'm trying to get after, and do it the right way this time. You've explored your passions and purposes, and it's great that you did, because there's a lot that you learned in that. There's a lot that I learned in that process, and I'm super thankful, and you should be as well, that you took that time, you took those L's. You took some wins with it also, but you did take those L's, because there's more than lessons that you've learned in that. There's a lot of takeaways, and you might not realize it right now, but you're going to. As you go into that next journey in life, that next step, that new clarified angle, you're gonna realize what it is, and you're gonna be glad that you went through it. Now that you did that though, this is when you have to start pivoting to the point of building meaningful relationships. Now take into consideration how important and crucial it is for a fulfilled lifestyle, a fulfilled life, a happy life, whatever you wanna call it. Human connection and relationships are essential. We need that. And in today's world with social media, texting, typing, so many people don't even want to go on a phone call because they can't answer quick enough. They don't want to be put on the spot with having to answer right away. Real, genuine connection in person on a human basis, not behind a screen, that's the key element that we need and that we wipe off the table. Even as far to say that with the right connection, the right relationships, you'll think broader. If your friends right now are all struggling to pay their bills, to do this, to do that, you're not having the conversation about going on vacation. You're not having the conversation of, you know, anything bigger than what your main stresses are. But when you change your circle, or when you introduce new people into your life that are at the point where their basic minimal needs are met, you can start thinking bigger. You can start thinking more broader, because you have less to worry about. Those people are on a certain track that can bring you to that track, because you're like, hey, like, who wants to be the odd man out? Who wants to be the last man in the race? Nobody. Now, once you get some relations and support in order, your concoction is almost fully at a developed stage. But this is when you're gonna start going through actual battles that you didn't think you'd understand, you didn't think you'd reach. But it's a good thing that you're going through that, because it's a new level of growth. It's a new level of achievement. And with achievement is gonna come those obstacles. With those new obstacles, you now have somebody, you now have people, you now have a community behind you, with you, right alongside of you to help you get through that. And that's gonna have the whole game changed for you. Your overthinking is no longer gonna stop you from trying to take action. That feeling of giving up, if you're with somebody in a situation, or just have someone supporting you in a situation that you feel, I'm over it, I'm waving the white flag, I can't do this anymore. I'm burnt out. I've used up all my resources. You're not gonna have that anymore now that you have a community, a support system with you. That's who you're gonna fall back on, that's who you're gonna rely on, and that's who's gonna hold you up. When you take this time to analyze everything that you're going through, that you've been through, and even what you wanna continue to go through to reach that height that you're after, you know you can get to it. You know it's possible. You just gotta keep going. Once you stop, that's when it's all out. Building that resilience to bounce back from the adversity that you're gonna go through. I'm currently going through it right now myself. And look, I'm not here to tell you guys how to go about life, how to make the right choices, how to not make the wrong choices, because I'm guilty of it myself. I'm currently going through it myself. Whatever you guys are going through, I would love to hear about it. Drop a comment. What are you working on? What's a challenge that you're facing right now? What could be added to your recipe that can get you to that next stage? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Somebody else might have an answer for you. I might have an answer for you. Let's help each other out. Drop it in the comments.